Hi, welcome to Tarot Combos. This is what is today? Wednesday, February 18th, and we are going to draw two cards from our Wild Unknown deck. Since I'm at home, I have different decks here, and there we go. Every time. Now we can begin. Let's see what's here with us today. Okay. We have the Father of Pentacles. This is the King of Pentacles. I just love how that snaps into focus. Challenged by the Four of Wands. This feels like something's going on with our home life right now. Perhaps. Isn't everything considered home life? I don't know. Home life, work life. We have all kinds of lives. So the King of Pentacles is this feeling of like pretty satisfied with everything I've built for myself in this lifetime. Built, acquired, nurtured, cared for, manifested. Choose your word. And the kings have a lot of confidence, and they have this it's like people obviously look to a king for guidance. And so this is like you're the king of your reality. Aren't we all though? I mean, but the king has that self-directed nature. So you may not feel like the king of your reality because you feel like I'm always in the back seat. Somebody else is always making the decisions, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is actually you being in the front seat. This is you being the director, So what the challenge area is, which I think is interesting, is the Four of Wands. This card is like the happy events card. This is like unity. This is sometimes the card of marriage. Well, I don't want to skip past what might be obvious if you want to take this really literally. It's like, why would the marriage card, the happy events card, be in the challenge area to the home life where you feel like you're in the driver's seat of your home? Is something, and I don't like to go here, but it could be that is something in your marriage struggling, or your partnership. It's not all just marriage. That's just a traditional interpretation. Is something in your partnership having a challenge? Is somebody struggling? And is that causing you to feel like, oh, maybe I don't have the control that I thought I had? Meaning, obviously, no one can control everything. A partnership is two people coming together and building some third thing, something together that they're both invested in. So is there something here that feels not so happy lately? So I just didn't want to brush by that literal interpretation here, okay? In case that is you, and you are something is really challenging that's really hard to get a handle on. It almost feels like when that happens, do you feel like your sense of stability and safety and trust and security has been shaken a little? Or it almost feels like that there's like a feeling of instability or uncertainty that is actually putting a strain on the partnership, or putting a strain on your ability to feel like you're still steering the ship. Like, it's almost like, how do I regain control of this situation? Okay, so that it kind of feels like that. I almost wish this wasn't a combo. I want to get some clarifications. I want to draw some more cards, because that feels a little too like, where's our silver lining? Because honestly, it's not just bypassing. Everything feels like there's always something to look at that is the positive outcome of some challenge. In this case, what could it be? It might be, this kind of feels true. When something like this happens, when the partnership card, the card of happy events and celebration, is in the challenge area, saying like, that it's almost like a wake up call. And that can be a really big silver lining, like no longer living behind any delusion or like I don't want to see the reality of the situation. I just want to keep existing in our little bubble, right? But there's something really asking for a wake up call. Like things aren't maybe like there's like that happy facade that's been maybe being put on things in a partnership that is really deeply asking for some honesty. And with honesty comes vulnerability, because the king is sometimes not seen as so vulnerable, right? But this is interesting with this, it looks like a deer. Is that a deer? And the rainbow antlers and like the sun shining out of the pentacle. It looks like rays of light. So it's almost like there's a gentleness in the deer, but there's wisdom in the deer, and there's I'm trying to find the word as it relates to this reading. There's like an alertness. You know how like when a deer is just like, they're widely awake. They're just like, and they're not, they seem so serene and alert. Like there's an awakeness to the deer that feels like the silver lining too. Like the wake up call of you're now at attention. You're now alerted to something is deeply asking for honesty in the partnership. So if you've been waiting for a signal, a sign, a confirmation to go ahead and introduce honesty into the situation, then go for it. This is saying true happiness, true celebration is worth honesty, right? Like why would we just pretend? It does no good for anybody. It's just delaying the inevitable wake-up call, reality check. So maybe we'll just leave it at that. Treating this as like your confirmation that it's okay. Vulnerability might feel scary at first. Honesty might feel scary at first until you actually dip your toe into it, test the waters and say, oh, that's what was deeply being asked for. Both parties seem to want it. It's like, it's just scary. Like who's going to make the first move? Like, and it's almost like, is this it almost feels like, is it just a conversation about the state of affairs? The state of the union kind of conversation that's been deeply needing to happen. And it's like, yeah, those are scary because it's like, what's going to happen? I don't want this to fall apart. I just want us to get on the same page, from an honest point of view. That it could be that. Only you know what your specific scenario is. I'm just saying, it feels like being at attention, alert and honest, like awake to the situation is so much more fulfilling, because with the King of Pentacles, there's such a fulfillment energy to this that in general, not just in this reading, but in general, the King of Pentacles is like deeply abundant, deeply fulfilled, cares about his family. There's all the generations, his circle of loved ones. So this is saying the love card, the fulfillment, the abundance, all the good things that comes from unity, from union, from people coming together, from partnerships is here. So it's like, what's at stake? Like not having that is without the words. Like without the reality check, we're just living in some falsehood that ultimately is just, it's going to come to light, but maybe not in the most fruitful way. Whereas like if you approach the thing, if you're the one to say, let's have a State of the Union conversation. Let's be honest. Let's be vulnerable with each other. Because I feel like, I think where this is coming from is like in relationships, you know how like if there's something you haven't introduced from the beginning, like, hey, let's be vulnerable with each other, then isn't it harder and harder and harder to introduce it the further you go into a partnership? It feels like more disruptive somehow to wait longer and longer. And it's like, well, if we waited this long, it's just like, and then you get to the point where you're like, you've been wanting to do it, but it feels like hard to introduce. And then at some point you're like, oh, now it's just too late. We're too deep into this. Like, and then you get to the point where you're like, it's not even worth it. Like, it just keeps going and not like, no more silver linings. Like, it goes too wrong. God, I don't like these readings. I just have to read what the cards are saying and how I'm feeling. And so that's the negative part of not doing the State of the Union. Have you felt this in relationships where you're just like, oh, now we're too far in. What's the point? But you want to get back to this, that like coming together, just unconditional love, you know, probably how it all began. And it's like, it's never too late to introduce honesty and vulnerability, because, you know, if you're feeling it, the other person's feeling it too. It's like, be the brave one, you know, and they will have so much gratitude that you were the brave one. So I guess that's it for today. Thank you for being here. Good luck. Seriously. It's all worth it, isn't it? Because what do we have at the end of the day? Just our own integrity. Don't you want to live in integrity? Like the deer. Bye.